We have 4 senior speeches today, first off starting with Abigail Angel. If you know Abigail, then you know that she's kind-spirited and always has a smile on her face. Whether she's on the field for lacrosse or in the classroom, she always pushes herself to do the best. Abigail, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Maddie, and good morning, everyone. Throughout my 18 years on this earth, I have attended 17 high school graduations. Every year, I sat in the balcony with my sisters, peering over the audience, listening to speeches, and watching my dad hand out diplomas to thousands of hopeful seniors. I used to believe that graduation was the final moment. Every year, I imagined my day, graduating from the school I grew up in, surrounded by the people I had known my whole life. But life doesn't always go the way you plan. In 8th grade, I found out my dad had taken a job at Baylor, a school hundreds of miles away from the place I had always called home. Suddenly, the future I had so carefully envisioned was no longer mine, and graduation from my school was coming a lot sooner than I had expected. To be completely honest, I did not want to come to Baylor. I did not want to move to Chattanooga, as I was happy with my life in South Carolina, wrapped in the comfort of a world I knew and loved. But instead, I was faced with something I never expected: starting over. My first ever Baylor football game is something I'll never forget, though not for the reasons you might think. I stood in the crowd with the other 9th graders, watching a world I did not know how to step into. I didn't know who to talk to, or even what to say, and before I could stop them, the tears started, and all I wanted to do was disappear. So I ran. I ran to our empty house up on the hill where the carpet was stripped bare and the walls were unfinished. This house was a mirror of how I felt inside, raw, exposed, and my life being ripped out from under me. I sat there and looked out the window to see the view of the school below, a world that felt so distant. I sat there and wondered if this place would ever feel like home. But here's the thing about houses: they don't stay empty forever. Little by little, the house started to fill. Carpet was laid down, the walls were painted, furniture arrived, and slowly, the emptiness began to disappear. I started putting up my books, hanging my favorite paintings, and filling the space with things that felt like me. And without realizing it, I was doing the same thing with my life. I started to fill the empty spaces. I made friends. I gained the confidence to raise my hand in class. I tried new things, like lacrosse, a sport my old school never offered, even though I had no idea what I was doing, and began to find joy in every practice and game. And slowly, the emptiness started to fade. The unfamiliar became familiar, and very slowly, Baylor started to feel like home. But even as I settled in, there was always this quiet pressure, the pressure of being the headmaster's daughter. I had always just been Abigail to my peers at my old school, but here, people already had an idea of who I was before they even met me that was solely based on my father's position. And because I'm naturally quiet, it was hard to show people who I actually was. I worried that every accomplishment I earned would be seen as something handed to me, and that doubt stayed with me for a long time. For anyone sitting here today who has ever felt like they weren't enough, like they didn't quite measure up, or like they didn't belong, I want you to know that I understand. I have asked myself those questions more times than I can count. Am I smart enough? Am I strong enough? Am I outgoing enough? But as I looked around, I started to realize I wasn't alone in those questions. Baylor is full of students who leave their homes and families to come here, some from across the country and some from across the world. We all have our own little endings, moments when we feel lost or uncertain or afraid. But what I've learned is that every ending we face makes room for a new beginning. And when you take it step by step, when you embrace the discomfort instead of running from it, you start to grow in ways you never imagined. I truly believe that God put me in this situation because He knew I needed to grow. He knew that the easy life I had built for myself in South Carolina wasn't where my story was meant to end. And though it took time and a lot of tears, He gave me the perspective to see that every challenge, every ending, and every empty house is just a part of the process. You can't stay in the emptiness forever. You have to build something new. And along the way, I found so much to be grateful for. I found teachers and coaches who saw potential in me when I couldn't see it in myself. I found joy in every Baylor football game, cheering as loud as I could alongside all of my best friends. I found a community that challenged me and supported me and made me braver than I ever thought I could be. And greatest of all, I found a deeper appreciation for my parents. My dad didn't just bring me to Baylor. He brought me to the version of myself I never knew I could become. He taught me what it means to take risks, to face fear with grace, and to believe in the person I'm still becoming. Even when I wanted to stay comfortable, he showed me the importance of chasing growth, of stepping into the unknown and trusting that I was strong enough to handle it. So when he hands me my diploma this spring, it will mean so much more than just the end of high school. It will be a symbol of every hard, wonderful, transformative moment that got me here, and of the man who never stopped believing I could rise to the challenge. But I also wouldn't be standing here without my mom, the one who held my hand through every hard goodbye and let me cry on her shoulder when I truly believed I couldn't handle it. She's been my quiet strength, my constant comfort, and the person who has reminded me on my hardest days that I didn't have to figure it out all right away, that sometimes it's okay to fall apart as long as you keep finding the courage to put yourself back together. And that brings me back to graduation. In just a few short months, I will attend my 18th graduation, but this one will be different. This time, I won't be sitting in the balcony. I won't be watching from afar. This time, I'll be walking across that stage with all of you seniors. And I know now that graduation isn't the grand finale I always thought it was. It's not the ending. It's just the moment when the walls are finally painted, the carpet is finally laid down, and the house finally feels like home. But it's still just a house, and the real work, the real life, comes in how you choose to fill it. So when the next ending comes, and it will, when you find yourself in an empty house, wondering if you'll ever belong, I hope you remember this. Endings aren't something to be feared. They're just the start of a new beginning. And if you take it step by step, you will build something beautiful. Thank you.